We just played Hugh Freeze, and he was asked about narrowing the quarterback depth chart there from 3 to 2. He said he had his mind made up. So I'll ask you, what do you think his mind was going into scrimmage, and what do you think it is now, if you had to guess?
I personally think that Robbie is pushing Peyton a little bit. I think the interesting thing about his quote was, and you mentioned it, was the question was kind of about narrowing the pecking order as a whole. And he answered it so quickly that I sort of wonder if he answered that question or if he answered the starter question. I guess he probably did answer the pecking order question. And so he easily could have been talking about who was going to be 2 and who was going to be 3. He could have been saying, I had my mind made up on who was 2 and who was 3, and now I'm not sure. It didn't necessarily have to be, I had my mind made up on 1, 2, and 3. I'm not sure. I think Holden looked pretty good Saturday from what I understand. Robbie did some really good things. I think Peyton was fine, was okay. I don't think he did anything special. And so I think Robbie is a guy that's coming on a little bit, that's passing the ball a little bit better than he did in the spring, and maybe passing the ball a little bit better than people thought. And the Robbie's the intriguing one, because the question is, with his ability to run, can he make up enough ground in the passing game to make it where you then add in his running, and it's a legit question. That's the question with Robbie. Is there some kind of gap he can close as a passer and decision maker to make you go, okay, he's not maybe where we want him to be, and maybe he's not where Peyton Thorne is as a game manager or decision maker, but he's at this point, and then his running ability takes him to that point, and then is that a question, and how does he get into the mix? Holden Gerner's, I think, having a good fall camp and getting better too. I'm just not exactly sure where he fits into the mix, because he is the least mobile of the guys. And so I do wonder about his fit in that system. And so I kind of still think it's Peyton, Robbie, Holden. But I think the competition has been good enough that I don't think anybody's played poorly. And so I look at it as a good thing that there's a little bit of indecision with Hugh Freeze. I think and nobody turned the ball over Saturday. That's a good thing. And so I think Holden and Robbie are getting a little bit better. And so I think the questions about the quarterback room, I think it's more encouraging that there's maybe a little indecision than if everybody was playing poorly, if Peyton was playing down to the competition. And I don't think that's happening. I think Peyton's playing about where he is, and those other 2 guys have gotten a little better. And so I think that's what's caused a little bit of indecision in the quarterback room.
Well, we live in a world now where a number 3 quarterback, if they believe they can play, is not going to sit around. They're going to transfer out. And to me, that kind of seemed like the comment, like once he says this is the pecking order, that number 3 guy could bolt. But I guess my question to you is, we don't assume Peyton's going to be the number 3 guy. We assume he's going to be 1 right now, but he just transferred in. Robbie transferred in last year. Does he have the ability to still transfer once again?
Robbie could. From what I understand, Robbie will graduate next summer. And so if that's the case, he could go through spring if he wants to. But if, let's just say, Robbie wanted to entertain that next year, he could be a summer type transfer. If he stays on track and graduates in the summer, he could be a grad transfer. He just wouldn't be able to do it in the winter and go through a spring with somebody. He can't do it until he graduates. Holden obviously can do whatever he wants. I think you bring up a good point, which is and it's a little bit of maybe psychology in that quote from Hugh Freeze, and I don't know. And that is, if you're Hugh Freeze, you want that competition to go on as long as you can. I mean, the competition doesn't hurt anybody. It makes everybody better. And so if nothing else, Hugh Freeze coming out publicly saying, I don't know, I thought I had it figured out, but now I'm not sure. I got to go back and watch film. The longer he can keep all 3 of those guys engaged, I think not only for transfer, but I think it just helps the competition in that room, and you have a better fall camp. You don't want to just walk in one weekend and turn over the keys to somebody and end the competition. I think the longer it goes on for Hugh, the better.